everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tectonic Lounge. Today, we are here with Natalya. Hello, Natalya.
Hi, Serge. Hi, everyone. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of your podcast. I'm really excited.
Very cool. Natalya is in the travel industry, and we're all a little bit jealous because she gets to be at some cool places and talk to people who do all kinds of fun things most of us wish we could do instead of working. But she's a founder of Secret Experiences, which sounds mysterious, but we'll talk about it a little bit. And she's been in the travel industry for over a dozen years, based in beautiful, lovely Vietnam. And she also works with Travel Massive, which we'll talk about. Anything you want to add about what you do?
Yeah, sure. I've been living in Vietnam for almost 12 years. And 6 years ago, I started a company called Secret Experiences. As you mentioned, yes, it sounds mysterious. That's the idea. So people right away get intrigued and want to ask questions what it is, want to participate in it. And yeah, we are running several experiences for primarily for tourists all around Vietnam in several cities here. And for Travel Massive, as I'm doing a little introduction, it's a global community of travel industry professionals with over 100 chapters all over the world. And we have 2 chapters here in Vietnam. And I'm volunteering as their chapter leader.
Well, so with your experience, when you and I talked, I felt you were uniquely positioned to have this conversation because not only do you have your own business, which obviously relies on technology on some level, but you also have a pretty good feel on the vibe of what the industry is going through, particularly because, a reminder, we are a technology and business overlap podcast, right? So when we're dealing with this, the questions we're asking is, how is technology solving problems for business? How is business utilizing technology? So let's just talk in general about what is tech like in travel industry, right? While obviously travel exists partially to disconnect from our lives, technology is a big part of it. So kind of give me some highlights of where do you see technology in the travel industry?
Well, technology is a part of everything nowadays. And of course, travel industry is not an exception. It depends. Businesses are adopting technology in different way here. I guess a lot of them are still old school. For example, I was talking recently to several people, top hospitality industry leaders, and most of them were saying, yeah, we do in some way try to use technology. And yes, we have bigger tech teams. They are using robots, chatbots, etc. But hospitality is still very personal. So it's not always, well, at least at this point, not everywhere technology can be used. Although, of course, especially because of COVID, after COVID, lots of things changed in travel industry. And nowadays, there are quite a lot of travel tech startups. There were quite a lot of them before, but now actually they took different turn, also with development of AI. And technology here can be used in different ways for both businesses and actually travelers. For travelers, now they can plan their whole trip. There are a bunch of startups and quite big companies now that help travelers plan their trip, book everything for them, make an itinerary, make suggestions just using basic keywords. So basically it's integrated. For businesses, they can also use technology to market their products better, to market their companies better, to find and analyze their customers. Plus, of course, well, as I mentioned briefly, like hotel robots, I'm not sure if they are replacing human labor completely, but in the countries like China, it's a big thing now. Well, they help at least. There are like room service robots. There's actually the first robot that appeared here in Vietnam. There was a conference a couple of weeks ago, and Kurama Resort got their first room service robot. I think they're just still testing it, but I'm actually curious to see how it's going to be working. And well, of course, there is also, I think it's a big separate topic for conversation is VR, which can also be used by travelers and by businesses in completely different ways. So technology is everywhere.
Yeah. All right, you threw out a bunch of stuff. I want to dive deeper into a few of them. The first one, I want to start from the traveler perspective before we get into the business, because that's where the bread and butter is. But let's talk about from the traveler perspective. You mentioned help with booking travel. Now, obviously, the most popular profession that talks about, that is dying as an industry is travel agents, right? If we go back to, I know folks in the 80s and 90s and even beginning 2000s that still would book complete trips for you, where they would book the reservations and flights and hotels. and they would do it based on relationships and based on knowing the industry and so on and so forth. We've gone away from that, where most people book their own travel or rely on certain package deals or whatever else. What has changed with these new startups that you mentioned that really help you, that is more than just like, going back to the old travel agent model? What has become special about these new tools that help you book trips?
Well, still traditional ways of booking trips and travel agents, they still exist, of course, and they have their customers. I think because of demographics, so let's say Gen Z and part of millennials, well, they are more tech savvy, and for them, and they're more independent. They're used to research themselves. They use more technology everywhere in their life. So it's just easier for them to not go to agent, to actually just book something online. But because we are, our company, we work with travel agents, we work with DMCs, destination management companies. So we don't see a drop down in that. It's just different demographics, different audience that they cater to.
Right. So as far as the new startups, walk me through some of the cool ideas that they have for actually helping you book a trip. Like you mentioned, some of it is more personalized with understanding your ideas and interests, or some of the other things we talked about before we even started.
Yeah, well, what I've seen, I'm not going to name all the startups that exist there, but you can actually check on Travel Massive. There are quite a lot of this type of tech travel startups that you can take a look at. I saw a few and I checked out a few. One of them is called Tripsy, and Tripsy, I think it's tripsy.app. It's called your travel toolkit. So pretty much it lets you organize everything in one app. It will prepare itinerary for you. It will send you real-time flight update. It can also, well, at least it promises to track your expenses and do a lot of other things. It just all in one app. I understand it's a startup, so the things can be adjusted, but it's very promising. And I've seen a few other similar apps as well, where you can basically just put in the your destination where you want to go and your interests. For example, fine dining, cocktails. I have 4 days. I have higher budget, and it will build everything for you. It will be like basically itinerary by hour, and with extra recommendations, will suggest hotel, will offer you to book it, etc., etc. Plus, also there are so-called trip concierges that can actually, you also can use a few keywords and can help you with anything. It can help also manage your reservations, book flights, etc., etc.
One of my favorite things when I travel is finding out of the way spots. So I'm excited to see if some of these apps can personalize. I'll give you a story from the past. I went to Italy, and it was really hard to find a cooking class because there are tons of them, but most of them you sit and watch while other people cook and drink wine. And I think most people really enjoy that. I want to cook. I want to actually get my hands dirty and work with it. And it was really hard to find that, but I think it'd be fun to see if these apps can actually fine tune that experience, or say, I only want to have a half a day experience, or, I want to chill a day. So I think it'd be fun to see if we can continue to personalize those and help even, with the travel industry perspective. It'd be great if the smaller venues that are not on the beaten track. So, Great Wall of China is wonderful, but, anybody who's ever gone, you don't get that picture with an empty wall unless you're really, really lucky. You get a picture with 10,000 people on the wall. So hopefully we get some out of out of the way destinations, out of the way, locations and experiences that do stuff. Okay, so staying on the consumer side, you mentioned VR travel. Now, I've read one article where the author was arguing that you don't need to travel anymore because all you do is put on VR goggles and you could be in the Gobi Desert, you could be by the pyramids, you can walk around Paris and never leave your couch. So how is VR travel helping the actual travel industry, both from the traveler perspective and the actual business perspective? What are some of the positive you're seeing? Because we definitely don't want people just to stay on the couch their whole life, do we?
I think people who, well, it's a great way to explore a destination, to get some kind of taste of destination, to get an idea, but it cannot replace travel. And I don't think we should be afraid in the travel industry that people will stop traveling because they can see everything using VR goggles. No, it's not going to happen. But I see it in an opposite way. Pretty much, as you mentioned, it can help businesses. And now I know that it's been quite a few years now, for example, for hotels. Some hotels are offering VR tours of the property. So actually people can make a better choice before booking. Plus, there is actually an app, another tech startup called Navi Savi. I think they started during COVID or just before COVID. They actually also featured on Travel Massive. And they also just give offer short videos, real-time videos. And I think there are some recordings as well from different destinations. So travelers can plan better, which I see it's working. Yeah, of course, not everyone is using VR. Not everyone has VR goggles, but any kind of video content, and especially if it's real time, I think it's helpful in planning. Plus, yes, for businesses, obviously, yes, we can do recordings. Well, for us, we do not use VR. We cannot put our videos into VR goggles, but we upload them wherever we can. It's very important for us to promote our products.
Well, when you first told me about hotels using VR, I was actually talking with somebody who was just holding a conference. He's like, "Oh man, I wish I would have been able to see and walk through and find out that, oh, that building's actually under construction still. So we're going to have noise there, or we need to move the location so they can actually plan out the specifics of their event better because they could have walked through like real time you mentioned." I think that's a very powerful idea. Okay, so moving on, let's go on to the industry. And you said something about the AI chatbots. And obviously, the quality of the travel industry, and when you actually push it into the hospitality industry, hospitality is that human touch, is that, personal touch. And you mentioned AI chatbots. The way I understand it is in many industries, AI chatbots or just, algorithmic chatbots, let's not overuse AI at times because sometimes it's not real AI, but is the ability of pre-qualified conversations, its ability to answer some of the most standard basic questions. But it also times can be frustrating when you can't talk to the real person. What are you seeing as far as the experience? Is it mostly a pre-reservation thing? Is it ordering room service? Or what are some of the uses you're seeing for these replacements for human conversation?
To be honest, well, I'm not saying it can replace all human conversations, especially for like some specific and more complicated cases. But generally, it can answer all basic questions because also being on the business side, we do not use AI chatbot, but we are considering doing so because most of messages we get through, we have just a regular human chatbot, basically a box where people can just message us real time. And most of questions are the same. How can I book? What's the price of this? Do you give discounts? What time does this experience start? So honestly, we can save time on this. It's quite easy. I'm sure, well, it can be even done much better with actual like AI technology. Well, it also we depend here on how it's been developed, what people can get there actually, what information it can gather and assemble. And I think, yeah, a lot of questions can be answered. It's the only problem here, well, not the only, but customers will feel often that it's AI. You can always tell it's AI written text, but as long as it's upfront and they get what they're looking for, they get the information, and they also know who exactly they can contact if they want to go deeper, they can actually be connected to a real person, then I think it's fine. It's for sure it will help to save people's time and money.
Yeah, I think that's two very excellent tips that I want to highlight. Is one, be very upfront that you are talking to a bot, right? That will ultimately avoid any people going, well, they're trying to fake it or whatever. But also be very transparent as well as how to get past the bot to a real human. Because I think when you spend all this time trying to get through support, I was dealing with an online vendor recently where they kept telling me get to a human, and I after about 9 steps I couldn't. I got frustrated and hung up or disconnected. My age is showing when I use the word hang up because that's a Gen X term. Back when we had phones, you could actually physically hang up.
I
Okay,
know. I've been there too.
true story. Yes, yes. Even millennials remember those phones as well. And then, as far as the overall, I guess, direction that you're seeing of the comfort of, I was thinking about other things since you and I started planning this call. I'm traveling next weekend and I'm excited that I may not have to, pull out anything but my phone for my boarding pass, right? And hopefully I don't have to print things out. So obviously that's a nice thing for the industry to be able to maximize digital footprint as opposed to having to waste more paper and other things like that. Where do you see kind of the next things happening? Where do you see exciting future things developing?
To be honest, well, again, we are talking here about tech and tech being a part of travel industry. So, well, it depends, of course, on many things. It depends on what's being adopted. But as you mentioned, convenience of booking your trip, of planning everything. For me personally, I pay attention to a lot of details when I'm planning my trip, and it takes often a lot of time. So to be honest, I can see, like, basically we can save our time, we get better quality places, better quality tips. There is also a big problem. It's been a while. There is over tourism in multiple destinations. We can also get hints on other undiscovered locations, on less popular things to do. Actually, also what we are trying to do with our company, so we are called Secret Experiences because we do not do standard touristy things. We bring people, even if they visit, yes, popular locations, but they do not do the same things like others. So hopefully what it can help generally to get save time for tourists, travelers, but get better quality tips, better hotel. For even like if we talk about hotels, I often don't get what I'm looking for. Even reviews not always are correct, photos always not always are correct. So just getting something more tailored to people. I hope it answered your question.
No, I think it's great. I think what you mentioned is the same two trends I was thinking about is deeper personalization, right? So people getting accounts for their interests, right? So even, we're talking about Southeast Asia. I think there are four wonderful countries with four unique cuisines and unique cultures and experiences. And yet I never hear anybody traveling to Laos or Cambodia, right? And then so that's, I know you live in the Southeast Asia, but I'm saying when I talk to people where I live now, it's mostly same package tours. They go to the beach, to a resort, they get it done, and they don't know that they could do secret experience, that they can do unique things, right? But I think that personalization, but I'm excited to hear that hopefully as technology gets better and even we start using AI to plan our trips, if you're planning your trip to Greece, instead of saying, everybody goes to the same Santorini location and over touristed, overcrowded, there's some other wonderful beaches and there's some wonderful islands, and you can also save money by not going to the most popular place, or maybe not going in the busiest season, and understand the plus and minuses, and combine with that industry knowledge that has been existing for years to the point of appreciating it on an individual level, the personalized level. So I think that that's an exciting trend to go in. Okay, I think you've given us a lot of kind of fun things to think about. And I always give an opportunity to the guests kind of to wrap it up the way they want to and share something that they want to share, whether it's about your business or kind of where you see things are and hopeful stuff. We try to end on a positive note in general.
Yeah, of course. First of all, generally, I believe that travel industry future looks positive. There are lots of changes happening. I am based here in Vietnam, which is not the most developed country, but one of the fastest developing economies. I think officially the fastest growing economy in Southeast Asia. So things are changing. And we're not talking only about like big brands coming. We're talking about also new boutique hotels. We're talking about the convenience of people making bookings. We're also talking about developing new destinations, not too touristy. And you mentioned, for example, about Laos and Cambodia. Well, there are a few other reasons why not many people go there. It's also about destination marketing. It's not just online, but I think tech can do a lot. Tech can help a lot with destination marketing generally as well. Maybe make sure educate people in certain ways, prepare them for their trips, make sure that it's more personalized, they make better choices. So that's generally my predictions. And I think we all should look to tech. We should all try to use those apps. Of course, maybe not every of them, but I think we should give it a try and see. And we also will support small businesses this way that are developing these apps. If you give them feedback, if you see if it's working or not, so why not?
I think that's great. Well, thank you, Natalya, for being our guest today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please tune in. We are trying to cover a wide range of topics, both talking people in specific industries. We talk people in education, in travel, in manufacturing, in e-commerce, but also talking to experts within specific fields. If you folks are more interested in AI or more interested in sales and marketing, how technology is being used specifically in those things, we have some episodes for that as well. Please tune in, and thanks for listening.